Just another day in school.
Another day in school.
Another long week.
It's Thursday.
Quack.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, Thursdays don't mean quack.
They don't, huh?
They don't mean quack to me. That's just an important thing I need to focus on.
Getting late. Yeah, we have an approach.
Do you want to check in, Kat? Kat? Did you want to check in?
Are we gonna do that part?
I know, but
Still?
I need to tell you tomorrow.
Oh.
Hey, Libby.
Shall I? There it is.
Okay.
And you
Libby.
are going to say,
Okay,
man,
good. I can't tell you from Nico.
Thank you.
you're welcome.
With the woods? Come on! Give me a break here. Oh, I should have been known from the whole thing. Okay, got it. Okay, Absol. Okay. Andrew, Laura. Wait.
So,
Yeah.
I like a few things finished on that.
Yeah.
Just a few things.
Mhm.
Or moving on to the fifth.
Right.
I made it. This is the first film.
she's like, they're not really.
The Hoist File. Hoist.
So I'm gonna put it out and make
Okay, Sammy. No Sammy today?
Sammy's here. He's on the way.
Where's Lisa?
I don't know. I guarantee you, he's not in there, my friend.
But he's right there.
Okay, you're close enough. Well, are we on time?
I told you it's no.
Don't have time. If I have more time to use, I got more patience automatically. Okay.
Oh, and I won't be here.
Okay.
Field trip.
Oh, fun.
I mean, like, otherwise. But my dad.
Okay, folks, get out your packets, let's see where we are. We are nearing the end here. We've got a couple more boxes to fill in. We've got the Battle of Okinawa and the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. What I'm actually thinking about, though, before we go nuclear, literally, is I do want to show something about the taking of Berlin. Okay? So, let me get some of this stuff up. Now, it's gonna be a little fragmented. Okay? I can't help it. Okay. We have to skip over so much. Drives me completely bonkers. But I want to explain some things that still have effects on the British and German relations today. Okay. Basically, the major part air war in World War II was over Germany. Yes, we had the Battle of Britain, but the major air battles are going to be over Germany, both during the day and during the night. And both of them will be extraordinarily lethal for the participants. I mean, Americans too. A lot of Americans literally either dead or in POW
The
camps.
technological advantages which prevailed over Hamburg no longer apply.
Okay.
The German air defense
Okay.
had leapfrogged
Here we go back
ahead.
here.
Bonaparte designed as the offensive air weapon to smash the heart of Germany.
The first daylight raids were disastrous. Bombers fell easy prey to the Luftwaffe.
Yeah, they were. They didn't have enough armament. They weren't fast enough. So the British are going to have to go night bomb. This is early in the war. The only way they can survive over Germany is at night. Now, Americans, when we build our bombers, we like to put guns all over the place, and we had this fantasy that they would survive. Okay. Good.
And there was popular pressure to avenge the Blitz.
We are no favors of the enemy. We seek from them no
That's Churchill.
compunction. On the contrary, if tonight the people of London were asked to cast their votes as to whether a convention should be entered into to stop the bombing of all cities, an overwhelming majority would cry, no, we will mete out to the Germans the measure, and more than the measure, they have meted out to us.
Basically, they bombed the heck out of London. Those were people in the tubes and the subways. We're going to do to them what they have done to us. The key word here is flat out stinking revenge. And Germany gets a lot more than Britain ever dreamed of getting.
The Germans were now meting it out to the British bomber. By the end of 1941, Britain had lost 700 aircraft.
Now, British have several things that are going wrong. They're going to bomb cities by night. You gotta find the cities. They can't find the cities. I mean, you fly in the middle of the night. Are you gonna be able to fly from point A to point B reliably? Not without electronic measures. Okay. The electronic measures that we use, well, nowadays you fly along a beam quite often. And if you hear it said, if you hear on one side dash, 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 don't hear the other side, you're flying too far to the left. If you're flying too far to the right, it's dit, dit, dit. You know. So if you're flying just right, it's one long turn. That means you're flying the beam. Well, the Germans and the British both learned how to jam these beams real fast. So how else can you tell? Well, you start the use of radar. So you can look down-looking radar, and so you can kind of read the terrain as you go. But mostly it's sitting there, maybe getting a fix from the stars. That's why the bombers always had that little glass dome. So sit there with this section, getting a reading. a navigator can. It's a very exact science. But if it's cloudy, you're in the world of hurt. Or I'm flying, so far, I'm flying so far at this speed, and as long as I really do know my airspeed, and the wind's coming this way, and I have to make up for it, that's going to call that dead reckoning, and with emphasis on dead. Okay. Hard time.
The Navy and the Army were demanding bombers for the Atlantic and the
a major part of the resort.
And then took the plane on the side. So
Here we
he,
go. Explain how.
Is
and defense chief, General Kamphuber, evolved a most efficient system. Across the North Sea coast stretched an early warning radar grid, the Kamphuber line. This grid was divided into boxes. In each box was a night fighter waiting like a spider for the fly.
we overtook the plane on the side. So he thought, he hasn't seen me. He still did some corkscrewing or waving.
I just banked slightly to give the gunners a good view underneath. I moved off maybe 10 degrees to port and starboard during this maneuver, but it wasn't violent in any sense at all.
And then I was shooting this way and diving directly. Or with the, what we said, schräge Musik, 2 centimeters, cannons, the same, only flying underneath and waiting, the moving, very easy. We did the same parallel to the other one, shooting, and between the motors, you had about 5,000 liters of gasoline, and that was burning very easily.
The advent of the Kamphuber line and all that went with it was a startling thing to be confronted with, because they took, the German night defenses took a terrible toll of British bombers.
They got the leader and spread out the formation. Once they got the formation.
Now, Americans do things a little bit differently.
And they were trained to fly in close formation.
It's an American
Formation
B-17s,
flying was really the
B-24s.
name of the game as far as the 8th Air Force is concerned. There's never anything
Jimmy
like it
Stewart,
happened
movie actor,
before,
Colonel.
since, and
Air Force also.
they actually were sort of making their own rules up as they went along, because it was just a brand new concept.
A-list
You
actor, by the way.
made it possible to have a
Biggest
more
actors,
concentrated
50s and
firepower
60s.
from the gunner's positions of all your airplanes. The fact that you could depend on good formation, tight formation, not only helped you in defense of fighter attack, it made your chances of achieving good bombing results much better. Because if you're bombing, a squadron of airplanes was bombing and the pattern was a good tight pattern, your results were bound to be good.
Early raids into France seemed to bear out.
Now, the thing of it is now one bomber does the job that all those guys do. Because he can drop it exactly on target. The bomb will seek out his target and blow up there. Back here, the Americans, we had a good bomb site called the Norton Bomb Site. It was like a little computer, and you put in the airspeed you're going, the crosswind, and everything. You put it all in there, and then you let the bomb site kind of fly the plane, make adjustments. But the bombing run, the bomb site's actually flying the plane for you. Okay. So that's. But Americans, we want precision bombing directly on the factories. Don't really want to wipe out the civilian population nearby. We've always been conscious of that. We usually try to take the moral high ground. The British, boy, they were in for revenge. They'll take out neighborhoods, man. They'll slaughter whole populations at this point. They don't care. They've had it from the Germans.
The American optimism, later over Germany. it was a different story.
But they found that at first, yes, the bombers could cope pretty well with the fighters and take acceptable losses on if the penetrations were not too deep. And the bombers kept good formation, and they had the supporting fire one from the other. But as time went on, the Germans were learning too, and so they learned how to make their attacks, and they learned how to penetrate the formations, and they started the head-on attacks, which were trying to get the leader and to spread out the formations. And once they got the formation spread out, then they could pick the bombers off at will, more or less anyway.
That's 10 Americans right there.
But it was too early to admit defeat. At night, the British bombers flew on, hundreds at a time, but each on its own.
But when we used to see them go over in the early evening, one by one in trail, I would not have changed places for them, and I'd much rather have the close formation, the firepower, than go over the way they did.
Where we were flying with the RAF, you were single Charlie.
Just after we'd crossed the Dutch coast, I felt a terrific bang in my face, and the windscreen was shot away, and been wounded in the forearm, head, and the shoulder and the head, and the plane went out of control temporarily. So I didn't see any sense in saying that I'm wounded in case they all thought, he's going to pop off any minute now. The gun again exploded in the front of the plane, up beside us, and the shell hit the engineer who stood beside me in the forearm. And I had bits in my leg and the sort of skin off my hand. The port elevator had been shot off the plane. That's the elevator that keeps the plane straight and level on each side of the till. And the port one had been shot off. And this meant that you had to hold the stick back, right back, as if you were going to climb like this, to keep the plane straight and level. So the bombing had to help push this back as well, because my shoulder was, this hand was pretty weak, my shoulder being hit. And it was a matter of keeping the stick back by holding my hands in front. And the engineer held it with his other hand, his good arm. So we held this combined back to keep the plane straight and level. And it wasn't a sort of press on the guards feeling. It was just
Our operations officer was pouring scotch into a one-armed bandit. You know, these things that you put quarters in, trying to persuade the machine that the I think that flying is so impersonal, that is to say combat flying, that you don't get that intimate sense of loss if you see an airplane get shot down that you'd have if your buddy on a battlefield had his head blown off right within arm's length.
Young men came from Britain, America, occupied Europe, and the British Commonwealth to fight and die in the most determined air offensive yet waged. In January 1943, at Casablanca, Churchill and Roosevelt decided to combine the British and American bombing efforts in preparing Nazi Europe for D-Day. U-boat yard, aircraft plant, armament factories, oil installations, and transport were deemed priority targets for round-the-clock precision bombing. But precision bombing at night was still impossible for Harris. An attempt to pick off the Ruhr dams with specially designed bombs was only partially successful and cost the lives of some of the best air crews.
Okay, now, yeah.
Though the raid led to improved accuracy later on, not all the dams were hit. Ruhr arms production was unaffected. Harris believed that only the mounting onslaught of night area bombing would crush German industrial capacity.
At this time, we were getting better aircraft, the Lancasters.
Not just that, they're getting bigger planes, but they're also developing new techniques like radar jamming. And they'll do that at a place called Hamburg. So I'm going to zip there.
I heard
this
that.
is the result.
But just imagine
I heard that.
a great bunch of incandescent grapes falling from 2,000, 4,000, wherever we wanted them to detonate from.
At the end of July 1943, Harris deployed his improving technology with devastating effect.
1,000 bomber raid. First Operation Millennium.
The first Hamburg raid was due to us at last getting permission to use something we'd had in the bag for a long time, which was known as window, which is the dropping of clouds of aluminium paper strips, which completely upset not only the German location apparatus, but also their gun aiming apparatus.
None of us, neither civilians nor firemen, knew what happened in this night. It was a very heavy raid, but we had almost the same 1 year before. We were not prepared for the firestorm, which broke out half an hour after the raid.
This is part. Remember this part. Firestorm.
The effect of the bombing, combined with a summer heat wave, was to create a man-made tornado of flame. The firestorm.
Und diese ganze Gegend wurde von Kanälen. I went to this area near the docks. It was small. Jumped into it.
Most people were killed by the fierce heat, not burned or suffocated or poisoned by carbon monoxide. We think that in some places the temperature reached 1,000 degrees centigrade.
The British night attack and American day raids lasted nearly a week. 30,000 died.
In Hamburg, we really found out the first time that the morale of the German people can be shattered so much that the work for industry, the work in the armaments industry, would collapse.
At the time, Speer said that 6 more raids like that would have finished the war. The Allies did not have that capacity. The shock passed. At the same time, the 8th Air Force had stepped up the intensity of its daylight raids against precise targets.
This group will bomb from an altitude of 13,000 feet. We feel that this low altitude will be equalized by the element of surprise which is with us.
2 weeks after Hamburg, they planned to deal their knockout blow against German industry.
Right, please. This group of buildings here is your target. This building will be the aiming point. If your bomb pattern is concentrated in this area, it should very effectively knock out the factory.
The target was the ball-bearing factories at Schweinfurt, producing a major part of Germany's need. The attacking force was to be split into two. The first wave would fight to a secondary target.
I have a friend of mine shot down here.
Regensburg. Then it would fly on unhindered to North Africa. The second wave, 10 minutes behind the first, would then arrive at Schweinfurt whilst the German fighters were on the ground refueling. Their battle would be during the trip home. Flew further and unexpected low cloud delayed the takeoff of the second wave. The result, the Luftwaffe, refueled and rearmed, was waiting for them.
Well, we didn't expect an attack coming that far into the country and without fighter escort. And we were very astonished.
That's right, we didn't have any fighters who were long range enough. We all went in without fighter escort. And they were flat out slaughtered. 80 bombers come down. 200 bombers damaged.
Schweinfurt has been the result of very good conditions in favor of the German fighters and the fact that we could bring about all our fighters in operation to intercept the bomber stream. This altogether has favored our...
One of the best, highest surviving fighter aces, Adolf Galland, up to the Battle of Britain, all the way to using jet fighter. In fact, his last mission was being shot down by a jet in a jet fighter.
Results.
21 flying fortresses were lost before the first bomb fell on Schweinfurt.
First division coming in later had heavier losses because they had to go back out in addition to coming in. So I think we wound up the day by losing about 60 airplanes, which didn't make anybody very happy.
Okay, I'm gonna cut that short a little bit. We'll work on some stuff. Okay, go. Okay. So basically, to give an idea, this is a year-long raid. Not year-long raid, but a year from 1943, 44, 45. The difference is by late 44, the British will lose 800 bombers over Berlin in a bombing campaign. Okay, that means what 800 times 7, eek. There's a lot of pilots. Only 10% of them get out of the plane on average. It would be said that if they just jettisoned all their guns, they shot down so few night fighters. They just got rid of all their guns. They had been just jettisoned and the gunners. One, you would have cut the number of people who died in half by gunners not being on board. And two, those planes wouldn't have been so easy to shoot down because they would have been almost too fast to catch. The British just didn't kill them. So basically, though, huge areas of German cities will be blown to bits. Hamburg, somewhere between 40 and 60,000 people are killed. And most of them die in their bomb shelters. You've seen pictures of the bomb shelters after the bodies have been removed, and the glass bottles and the shells are melted. Melted. Talk about thousands of degrees centigrade. Those fire storms were like literally fire tornadoes that were so strong it would suck in boxcars from nearby railroad tracks. Okay, suck in people, shoot, off you go. So the German civilian population really got hurt. We're talking at least 800,000 people died in Allied airways. Berlin pounded again. Of course, that's before the Russian army is at the gates of Berlin and basically blowing everything to bits. By the time they're done, there's nothing left in Berlin. The German city of Dresden, untouched, was hit by American and British bombers both, and 80,000 people died. Firebombing also comes to Japan. B-29 taking off. Again, they can't bomb from high altitude because basically jet stream, which is right over Tokyo, just the bombs go down, shoo, you can't hit. So you have to be really low. So the B-29 with 11 men on board, which is an extremely expensive plane, we're not going to take them down low where we fight over the world with their hands on. Fight catch up with them more than the anti-aircraft defenses are really tough. You can't do that unless you do it at night. And if you're going to do it at night, what does that mean? You can't see. So basically, American B-29s loaded up with big, massive loads of incendiary bombs, especially in Tokyo, which is much more flammable than Germany. Germany, the first waves will be carrying what we call blockbuster bombs, 1,000-pound bombs designed to just bust up an entire neighborhood. Boom. Then come the incendiary bombs to get among all the debris and the exposed wood. That gets the fire started. But Japan, however, because of so many basically wooden frame, really light frame houses, because of the earthquake issue, we literally have kind of thick, some houses with thick paper walls. That's because of the earthquake. It would be really easy to set up a Japanese city. We killed 120,000 people in the Tokyo fire. 120,000. Civilians. At the same time, Japan doesn't have these industrial areas, but we're using a lot of small shots scattered throughout the city. That happened, and we were willing to do it. I have to remember, there simply is very little value placed on human life. Okay, understood? Okay. So, for this last part, I'm going to have you basically, I know we have to finish this worksheet, but I'm going to have you take care of terms and names on page 514. And 514. be allowed to talk a little bit. Now, the invasion of Okinawa. Okinawa is only 350 miles from southern Japan, which means it's within range of land-based aircraft. The United States invades. Large numbers. About every Marine almost left that we have is thrown into Okinawa, along with a bunch of the Army troops. It's one of those rare Marine Army combined landings. It's a huge landing. It's a huge fight. The fight will go on for 81 days. In that time, 100,000 Japanese soldiers will be killed. Okay, America will lose 12,000 men. Many of these on board ships subjected to kamikaze attack. We watched the kamikazes the other day, didn't we? Basically, we sent everything out they had. But they're still boarding planes. There were never 7,000 planes that the Japanese had boarded for the invasion of Japan. But southern Japan is now open to invasion with the conquest of Okinawa. But they have 7,000 planes still left to launch as kamikazes. Now, America has not lost any heavy aircraft carriers since Guadalcanal. But kamikazes have done huge damage to the American force. The Bunker Hill is hit bad, loses about 600 men. Does not return to the fight, is never modernized for later use. Sits in San Diego Harbor pretty much until the time it scrapped in the 1970s. I remember seeing it as a kid visiting San Diego. The Intrepid is badly hit. It's now a museum on the East Coast. The Franklin is hit worst of all. Almost 900 dead aboard. Flight deck completely gutted and caved in. The fact she survived is amazing, but she is considered a constructive total loss because too much damage to fix. Destroyers are hit and sunk. Some cruisers are hit, but a fair number of destroyers are sunk. Landing craft, landing ships, you name it. We've got a lot of ships get hit. So let me get the exact total, because this is something we're really worried about. Approximately 2,800 kamikaze attackers sank 34 Navy ships, damaged 368 others, killed 4,900 sailors, and wounded over 4,800. The U.S. Navy had never been hurt so bad. 14% of kamikazes survived to score a hit on the ship. Nearly 8.5% of all ships hit by kamikazes sank. The idea. Rough. Invasion of Japan is going to be tough. It's going to be tough, 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 tough. We are estimated to lose 250,000 men in the invasion of Japan. Actually, it will be twice that, because Japan, the Japanese have given out orders in case of an invasion, all Allied POWs are to be executed. There's approximately 250,000 of them. So basically, you're talking about costing at least 500,000 Allied lives. Not good at all. Something else has to be done. Japan has to be starved and surrendered. But an invasion or starvation is literally going to cost millions of lives. Who's hell? It's going to be ugly for everybody. But in the meantime, a full 10% of American electricity usage has gone to a secret program. Sounds more like something out of the Avengers. Okay, that secret program will be the Manhattan Project, the development of the atomic bomb. Now, the developers of the atomic bomb are really hoping to use it against the Germans, because a good number of them are German Jews. Lots of. So they're really hoping to use it against Germany. They're almost disappointed that they don't get to use it against them because Germany surrendered.
But now we use it on the Japanese.
Now we will use it on the Japanese. First of all, the first test will be in Alamogordo, New Mexico. And it's like, holy crap. When you set one of those things off for the first time, we're going, oh my gosh.
This could change everything.
Oh, duty. This could be big. So, we'll get into A-bombs tomorrow. Yeah. Hiroshima and Nagasaki, 2 places. Yeah. Some people, survivors from Hiroshima, get to Nagasaki to get housing, and then they get there's a few people still.
I watched that documentary.
Well, the thing of it is, it affects world history after that because we get films of that. And ain't it nice on the ground? We take a look at that and just, we really did that? Jeez. Now, in the end, I think we saved millions of lives, in my opinion. Okay? Millions. But, dude, eek. We never want to do that to each other.
Did the Chinese know about this?
Nobody knew about it except us. We were, and the Russians. The Russians had almost up to the minute information of what we were doing because they had some spies on the development team. So they will be exactly 3 years behind us in exploding the bomb. We thought we were going to have the bomb, and when Russia sets one off, we go, okay, who leaked it? And we find out.
Okay, so we won't bother Russia.
Well, no, it's basically doing enough gas, a few people go to the gas chamber for basically against Russian spies. It worked. It's controversial, but okay. So anyway, we're pretty well done here for the day. But we'll get there. So we'll take care of number 10 tomorrow. I want to give you an idea of what's going on in World War II. And basically, everyone gets inured to taking large numbers of civilian lives. I mean, bomb Hamburg, killed 60,000 individuals, 60,000 civilians. No problem. Take out Dresden, killed 80,000. No problem. Burn out Tokyo, kill out 120,000, which is more than the toll for either atomic weapon. Okay? So, hey, goodbye, and then use the use of nuclear weapons. You notice how the savagery is going further and further and further. Okay? So that's what war gets. It escalates. This is like an almost unlimited escalation. But once the fighting stops, it's kind of cool. The dying doesn't quite stop. There are criminals to be tried, and it's not just the victor's justice. I mean, these guys do this kind of stuff. And we'll get to that point. Chapter 5, I mean, not chapter 2nd 5, we'll deal with the Nuremberg trials. So, anyway, expect test next Thursday. Hopefully we're done. Might be a little earlier if we can, but definitely by Thursday. Okay. I just noticed that it had,